For the topics today, events, forms, Ajax, you will just play a little bit with the lab, but you should go back and continue to improve your assignment. So the lab is not intended to take the whole day. It's just, some of you may prefer to just do it, and now I don't care if you don't step linearly. It's still useful if you do, because this is actually, now I'm going to reuse the lab as very similar steps that I show in lecture. Okay, so those who feel like, okay, I need more practice, no problem. There's a lecture part, and this one is quite similar. But those who feel like, I can't get it, I just want more practice with more interesting content, then go back to the assignment, and bam, 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 you can do the list yourself. Okay? And, well, still, glance through everything and really understand that. So at this point, I cannot expect all of you to type one thing at a time, one character at a time, because some of you just look at it and say, I try it, it's fine, I try it, it's okay. So everyone can have different speed, no problem. Here, we're gonna start with this Copen fork. It's a, I hope this fork doesn't contain my final code. All right, let's see what we can do with events and forms and Ajax. So we'll do one thing at a time. Events. We use jQuery because it's so much easier to learn about events. And I will also recap the content of jQuery. This page so far, the way the elements are displayed, you guys see this? And the CSS. We all good, right? Are we comfortable? Comfortable how we style this thing, and we comfortable how to add the next list, make it float to the right? What I'm going to do is just, what if I'm going to present how you submit the form and everything just work on this page, but nothing touches the server. You've refreshed the page, it's gone. Yeah? So we could try to do that. And the first step is the JavaScript in here. You want to go and add jQuery to it. So I already added. You just Google jQuery CDN, and then it just gives you the direct URL. You can double check that this return a real file, and then save and close. So we have jQuery. Now, to really test this page is really full of a lot of things. Sign up for an account and log in. Go to debug mode. Okay. Please do not ignore this Chrome Dev tool, because that's everything for our learning. So we know that jQuery exists. Okay. And jQuery object is something we have to get used to. When you wrap around this is called a selector. I'm going to talk a little faster, but feel free to interrupt me, right? This is a selector. It wraps around the element and returns something. Normally, this is returned as a, it can be tricky, like it can return as an object, like this. Or it can return, let me see if I can find anything. Is there an item? This item. Okay, I guess it's object. Sometimes it display slightly differently. Let me double check on that. So it wraps around with an object. Now it may look like an array, but it's not. Yeah.
Is there a way that I can return an element, pass it to the selector?
Yeah. So pass into a selector. This is the selector, right? Yeah? Yes, for example, list item, you get the first element. But this is just a string, that learn string. If you want to use the jQuery way to change it, you pass it to this is your selector. Yeah? This is your M element, and then you do this, and that is the jQuery element. Now here's the difference. This is your standard element, the HTML element. It has the API call that you could try to get element by ID. It will find the element inside this guy. You can have all these things like parent element, parent node. The word node is an element, could be a little confusing sometimes. It's the whole thing here, right? But it's very hard to remember all this stuff. So you don't have to worry about them. Just learn the jQuery way instead. So wrap them around element here, and now jQuery. Then you can just say what's the parent, okay, and then it wrap it in the jQuery object as well. So go back to the jQuery object. This is important. The jQuery object, it may look like you can do 0. It may look like you can do 1. Right? Do you guys see that? Where's the another header and a page? Oh, okay, it's here. There are 2 of them, right? Or 3 undefined, but it's not an array. Everything is a JavaScript object. It implement the length method, so you know how many elements they're mapped. Okay. Is it still clear, Ian? Are we doing okay? Now, what if you give it something that is not valid? You cannot see from this already. Like, you don't see what looks the same. But the way for you to check if an element exists or not, you have to use the length method. And if an object doesn't exist, then the length is 0. Alright? Okay, so it's not an array, so what is it? This method is actually short for the object, it's getting that key from the object. But we all use it. It's just an object with the first key is 0, the second key is 1 here. Sometimes when you only have one element, like a heading, this is heading, so heading. It seems confusing, it's one element only. So when it's one element, you can use it as if it's just that element. So what is it? You can say HTML, change this, and we'll change that. It will do it for that one element. If you want to try this with this one, good luck, it will change everything. So there's no need to do .each, but sometimes not what you want. If you have 2 and you only want to change the first one, right? Can you do that? Not really, because this is not a jQuery object. You have to wrap this one inside another jQuery wrapper, and then you can change that again. Please ask if this part is not clear. So I can either use h1 HTML change, and it will change everywhere, or I'm very specific about it. Give it an ID or a class, and there's only one element. It only change that guy. Okay? Or sometimes you just want to change the first. So you get the first one, and this is the one you want to change. Remember how to change it with JavaScript and the traditional DOM API. JavaScript is inner text or inner HTML. Inner HTML means you can put HTML text in it. Inner text means everything has to be regular text. At this point, it's the same. So it's the same. So I'm just gonna say same heading. So that's how you change it. But to remember all of this stuff, and in the past, not all the browser can handle inner HTML properly. Internet Explorer will freak out if you do this, like hello, and then it will freak out. But nowadays it works. Okay, so this is the div inside. The first, if you inspect it, you'll see a div. So because of all this HTML compatibility, people should not use that method. They should use the HTML method instead. And this is what jQuery does. The reader and the writer are very similar. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm still trying to get my head around why we need to convert it into a jQuery object. So the reason is that if we don't do it, it's just he accesses it and it's one thing, right? Before we store it.
So if you type this, it's an object that is a jQuery object, but inside it has 2 keys. Key 1 and this value, which is an element. So it's already inside jQuery object, and this is nothing to do with jQuery inside here. It doesn't have the jQuery enhancement. Only the outside wrapper has it. Okay? So JavaScript kind of have the class thing where this proto object has some of the jQuery class. It's all in here. But if you go into the heading as the first element, this is just to get the index out. Then you kind of click on it. It's really nothing. It's just a regular HTML node. This is very similar to document dot what find get element by class name by tag name h1 and then get the first one. The difference is this is an HTML collection. It's also not really an array, but it's behaves very similar to an array. That's the same thing, but at least this guy there's not that much magic around it. An element inside there's another element. With jQuery, this one wrap everything inside a jQuery object. jQuery object can have the .html method. Back to this, you have .html method. If you call it without any parentheses, you know that's not going to do anything. It just gives you the definition. If you call it with parentheses, then it's a reader, right? I'm using the Ruby terminology here. If you call it with parentheses with argument, then that's a writer. Then it will change. Now, once again, if you go into the children, and then you do 0 and you do this, it will not work. This is not children, sorry. This is go into the elements inside it. So the way to do it is to wrap it again. If you really want it, that's one way. There's a different way, but I'm not sure if you want to learn that. It's sort of, no one knows about this way really, but like until I read the doc, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't even know what EQ is. So you can get the first one and second one, but it's wrapped inside jQuery for you. Would you want to use that and explain to your friend like, oh yeah, because EQ is just, get the first element and wrap it in jQuery too. So up to you. Normally the way I do it is I define this as an element and I call it again with this element. Okay? The key takeaway is .html as a reader and .html with value as a writer. Okay? You could do .text, everything is there. And another takeaway is if you are confident you only have one element, feel free to make changes. But if you're not confident, then if you make changes like HTML or text, then it's bad, right? For example, you can do more like, oh, I can set CSS to this. Style to be, background blue. Is it true? I don't think this is CSS anymore. I'm not, probably like this. I forgot how to set CSS. My bad. jQuery set. Maybe the two arguments, the first and the second. So let's check. So you can get. Now this is the tricky part. For things that require, it's the reader and the writer again, except the one with one argument is the reader and the one with two arguments is the writer. Because in this case, I do need a little extra help. Because if you just say CSS, doesn't work. You have to say, well, what is the background of this? That is the reader. What is the CSS background? But I want to set the background, no problem. Whoops. Then I set the background. If I set another property, let's say, what is the font style of this font family of this element? Okay, that's the reader. What's the writer? What if I serif font? Check it out on the left hand side. Then press enter and enter the serif font with all the extra symbol here. Cool. So reader and writer. Sometimes reader has one argument and writer has two. Sometimes reader and writer just 0 or one element. So with that, we move on to this is you can play with the element if you know the jQuery object. You can get the children, the parent, the siblings. It's based on the HTML trees here. So for example, you take this element list box, this is your children. The H1 is your siblings, another header is your sibling because they're at the same level. And you do parents, then it's the body. Okay? Now you can also do jQuery. I'm just going to get a few list item here. Search. I have a lot of them. I'm just going to pick maybe the third one. Actually, there's no third one, only second one. So this is the last one, learn hash. Okay? And what is my parent of learn hash? That's one parent. Uh-oh, I make that same mistake.
Yeah, you need to.
Right? Convert that. This is my parent, and it's the list box. I only have one parent. Sometimes you may be pretty confused that like there's a parent method too, and this return all the parents. This should be called ancestors. Right? I believe it also works. I guess it's not. So it's called parents here, return all your ancestors. However, when you have a lot of ancestors, you want to pick one. Then you can choose and enter the HTML selector to find it. Then it only returns your body parent. Okay, so sometimes in this item, I want to go into this item. We will get to that. Basically, I have a lot of lists. I want to get from this item to this item. I have to go to my parent and ask for the siblings of my parent because this one may be my cousin or my uncle. This is the HTML DOM tree. I wonder if jQuery provides you that, like cousins. Okay, there's no cousins and uncles, sorry. So you have to define your family tree differently. Okay, so event. This is when we need to learn a few new syntax. If you select an item, where's my list item? There are 3 of them, right? You guys see it in here? And if I say now click, inside here you can pass in a function. You pass in the function name, please do not pass in a function with this thing. Okay? If you pass the function like this, it means it always runs as soon as it reads the code. You don't want that. This, you should only want your function to run when you click. So I have something called my function. Yeah? So I have to define it. So if you click here, you don't see anything. But if you look at the console, you should see an error. Unfortunately, this console is quite useless. It's only for console.log. That's why you have to keep going back to this debug view. And if you don't sign in, you won't have this view, and you have a hard time. So please, sign in and actually go and troubleshoot. So I'll click. Uh-oh. Doesn't even do anything? Shit. Let's double check. This one, let's first. Okay, click. Let's make it do something first. Function alert, hey. And then click. Okay, it works as expected. So what was I doing? Click my func. Enter. So when you define, it will cause that problem. So if I run this right now, I wonder if it caused the problem. Oh, it is. It's causing that problem here. Yeah. So I think just now I just didn't load it properly. Oh yeah, I just loaded. Remember, you have this preserve log. It means if you reload, you don't want something to display, then you turn it off. But if you turn it on, then it's very nice that you can remember what happens in the previous page. Of course, you can also clear normally with this guy. All right. So this is your friend. All right. So we know this stuff already. What is next is that I want to do more than that, but first I have to break down this syntax. My function, I'm just going to say alert function, my function. Now there are a few ways to define a function. By now you see that's one way, or my func equal an anonymous name like this. It's 2 ways, yeah? There's a third way too, but I'm not sure if you want to. No, it's just basically you can just do this, and that's a function too. This is the new syntax. We will slowly switch to this, the arrow syntax. So you can put in the argument here, right? And if you only have one argument, you can even get rid of the parentheses. And things get pretty confusing. So for now, try to use either this or this, up to you there. I like this style because every time, so I don't like the first style. And this style is just clear each time. Sometimes I just mean that I take this function in here, put it out, and give it a name. All right. Beside click, you can do something like maybe that. Yeah. I just hover over it, and it happens. So this hover effect, you can do it by JavaScript. When you hover, you can add a class to it. So for example, oh my god, this is bad. Too many alerts. All right. For example, if I have a class called hover, and then background color is red, and then so when I'm hovering an item, right? What should I do to it? I add the class to it. So here's something that we have to kind of understand how to use the argument. One way is for you to use e.target. That's the target you're hovering in, and then you dot add class hover. Are we clear on this? Right? Now there's also hover, but then okay, I have hover in and hover out. If I hover out, I should do something else. So obviously the JavaScript way is a lot more complicated. So if you learn the hover, the CSS way is better. Yeah. When you cannot do it with CSS, then you do JavaScript. There's a more common way. Then that's why the arrow thing can be confusing. Is that when you define a function like this, the keyword this, it's very similar to the self word in Ruby. Then you wrap that element. When you have it, then you wrap that element, and then you can also add it to yourself. Okay? So it works the same way. You see this a lot.
What's the difference between this and target?
In this case, it's the same. But this is a lot of times you can do more. This is, yeah, it's the same. The difference is that if you call the way you call this function. Right now, I'm calling this function. This function is attached to this item. So the word refer to me. But if I'm just like somebody, this object, and then I somehow try to trigger the function, then I have to say function call, and then take another function, and then somehow this call now call my func. Then it's a different this altogether. It's this call instead. Just the hover function and all these other functions give you bind you this to this guy. Okay, so a lot of times you, instead of e.target, you could do this, right? Try them differently. Now you realize that it's a bit weird to remember all these methods, and actually there's a nicer way, is to do this on. Okay, so on hover, then you run this function. Okay, and okay, sorry, I really have to take this one. I'll just cancel it. But hello. Yeah. 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 Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Now, this is called listening to an event. So I'm listening to the hover event, right? And then I do this guy. You see, I have, so if I run this right now, actually, this is when it gets pretty confusing. The event hovering here is not working because actually it doesn't define this as hover. Hover was a convenient function. So then I will take a look at my maybe debug. So you can do that here, and nothing will show up because this event just never happened. So I will look at the DOM event available. Where is it? I had it somewhere. Uh-oh. Where's my DOM reference page? Was it the first day? Yeah. Okay. And look at the events that we have. You can also look at jQuery events. That's a click event. Okay, here's a common event. So instead of hover now, you actually see like mouse over. And jQuery sort of does this on for you. And the rest of the text you have to choose from that. So key up, key down. So then we're going to say this will be on, mouse over. All right? And then now it works again. Imagine if I only do it once, then I have to turn off this event listener. Could you have a guess how you turn it off? Imagine, huh? If I hover something, I can actually just say turn off by calling off. So it's in this case, hey, add once and then forever don't do it. Let's see if it actually works. One, no more. That's it. So use on and off, in some cases when you want to listen to the event, the click, the hover, only during this period of time, that's okay. So on is now becoming powerful. We have on, click and on anything here, and jQuery events you can search. That's just a lot of them. So in our lab, 3 point. We are transitioning to something called a submit event. You have learned how to listen to a click event. You will do this key up event to be able to display what is being inside, and let's say every time you type something, you can always get what's the current value after you type. That's the key up event. That's quite common. If you write, let's say, a credit card number validation before you want the user to submit, as user type, it's like, no, dude, that's a wrong credit card number. If you run check if someone's entering a correct email address, you can check the key up and say, oh, is the string correct? Or if you check the password key up and you just check, is the password too simple? Does it have more than 6 characters? That's the key up event you can use for validation in a form. I'm not going to cover that, but I'm going to cover submit. So in your case, you will have to edit yourself. I'm going to grab, I should not keep messing with this this one because it affects your lab. I'll fork it into a different one. Alright. So here let's learn how to do submit. So this is the form part. Form, let's say action, where do you want to go? I'll just enter any URL, I don't care, right? This is maybe as a method post. So there is something called submit that's unique to the form element. So let's say there's only one form, so I'm going to name it called new item form. Okay? And instead of passing submit like this and then a function, I don't like writing this because it's not very clear. Again, it's the setter and getter, the reader and the writer thing. If you call without argument like this, it just run it. Isn't that crazy? If you take a link, let's say a link.home, and then you say click, it actually click the link. But if you pass in an argument, then it's just defining the callback, and you just say, hey, if you click on the link, please run my function. So it's a bit confusing. So I don't like doing that at all. I like to define this case submit. It's like if you submit the form, then it will just reload the page. So let's try that. Okay, I'll say here's a link here. I say it's a fake link. When you call, it's not called submit. This is very scary. Say my function submit form is I take that form and I call submit. Okay. Submit here also work for the raw HTML, by the way, but jQuery does a little bit more. It wraps the submit with extra stuff that may be useful for us. href is to go there on click. So here's another way to bind an event. I can define the click like what I did just now, but in this case I say, hey, if you click on me, please run submit form. And notice I have to pass in this guy to say, if you click on me, execute this string. That's just a JavaScript string. Submit from outside form, okay? Obviously I have a form up there. Instead of a button here, you know, please make sure the spaces is right. Instead of clicking this button, I could now submit this form by pressing submit outside form. And it'll go to a different page. That's why you see it blind, but let me just debug it over here. You notice the URL change, okay? Uh-oh, I didn't save it. Submit from outside form, so outside the form element. And then it goes here. And obviously the page cannot be found. It's the same thing now as I type, I press save here, right? So now you know how to write an app that trick the user to click disagree and then actually click on agree instead. If you really want to trick them, right? This is actually the underlying thing with a lot of the scammer website that displays something that looks similar and then asks you to click on this and it could actually click some hidden thing somewhere else. So, do you know how to call a form submit? I'm not going to submit that form. I'm going to learn how to do extra stuff when you submit. So, I have this do extra function. And by now, I'm going to use the new syntax. So, choose whatever you're comfortable with. But in the future, you will start using more of this, right? I need you to be familiar with this because that's where everywhere on the internet you see it. So I'll start switching to this function. It's almost the same, except this part is a bit weird. Alright, so I'm going to just say console.log submitting the form. Okay, and this function take an event. By now, you guys kind of understand that. So let's take this form dot new, what's that? New item. And when you say on submit, now you can define the function. So what do I call here? Do extra. Right? So click here. Again, very hard to debug. And then, is there any do extra here? It's just too hard to debug. I like to go to this debug view or go and refresh that page, I think. Let's try again. So what am I doing? I bind this form to that event. It's a new item, form new item, looks good. And if you click submit, I also do extra. So let's try. That's hard to see. Then I turn on preserve log to see if it really prints something on the previous screen, okay? Submit. Oh wow, there's no do extra, that's bad. Let's troubleshoot that. Make sure this element is there. Uh-oh, that's not there. You see the danger of jQuery? Nothing will crash for you. It just quietly fail. You can click whatever on nothingness, it still doesn't work. Form new item. Oh, no one helped me. Look at that, I call it name. Guys, everyone's asleep. Do you see why we have that mistake? Now let me try it. Submit the form, post. Sounds good, right? So I don't preserve the log anymore because that's just a bit hard to see. But yeah, this will disappear. Look, submit the form and then it posts and clear the log. All right. So that's interesting. I can do something in there. For example, here, what can you do? You can check the input inside here to see if it has any value or not. If it doesn't, why do you submit to the server? So let's for example, we can check that. Who knows how to get that item? Who know how to get the text inside here? add item. And again, one thing at a time, you can try. If you're just not sure, looks good, and then you have to look up for the method. You are like, okay, maybe it's called HTML. That's not true because you're actually checking the value attributes. Like, what is it? Maybe attribute? This is similar to the CSS method. The reader need one argument. It's in the attribute value. Right now there's nothing. Uh-oh, it's actually, it already, I think it's just really unreliable. Let me see, maybe that's a special one that doesn't work. There should be like attribute class, attribute type. Let me see if it actually works. First, okay, there's an element, right? And then we see attribute type. Oh, text. Attribute class. Unfortunately, let's not use attribute for things like value, right? It cannot track that. So the thing that we learn is called the val function. And here you can set the val with one thing or not, right? So I play around this to tell you that there's no way I can remember all this stuff. And we all just like use it. Oh, what is it? How do I get the value of that attribute? If you get a checkbox with jQuery, then you also have to go and Google like, how do I get true or false if the checkbox is checked or not, right? There's an attribute checked, and then it can be pretty confusing. But I won't touch that for now. So jQuery provide you with cool methods like is checked, is not checked. Okay, so I'm going to check in here if input element add item, yeah, dot val, yeah. If it's empty, remember our triple equal, double equal work in this case. Remember double equal, this will return true. Triple equal is just stricter, that's all. So you see some people write triple equal a lot. But let's say in this case, if it's the same, if it's like this, JavaScript requires you to put this parenthesis. It doesn't require you to put this one for the one statement, but please, please always use it. Because just like I say, please put the space, because imagine someone like console log here, and then someone else right here, and you're like, is it inside the if or not? And then you forget the spacing, and it says here, and then you're like, here, is it inside or not? It's gonna happen. And if you want to be a better programmer, I beg you guys to pay attention to every single space and respect, like, okay, if you do this, your life will be so much better. There's really dangerous code on you know, in the real world software in C, in C++, that people did not put this, and then danger happens. Someone else go and add some code here thinking that it run in the loop. If input is like a special command, then do this, right? That person think that, oh, this is really what happened, right? If special command, and then do another special stuff like, you know, cancel the program or something like that, and think that this will only run in that if. And then when you run it, boom, this gets run every time, just because someone forgot to put the damn curly brace. And I'm saying it because it will happen. People get lazy because they feel like, oh, it's optional, it's okay. You know, some people say on the internet say it's okay. It's okay to have like so much spaces like this. No, it's not okay. So, all right, let's do something here. Input is still blank. Are we good to submit the form? Do we understand what it does? You interfere the form, and then you
blank.
oh yeah, blank. Right? Whoops. It's still anyway. So you can submit here. Input is still blank. If you type something, you can submit it. Right? Ah, wait. Something is happening.
We didn't stop the submit.
Correct. It's still. Can I correct the? This can be buggy sometimes. Keep your console open. Make sure it loads the latest code. Check input is still blank, but it's still submitting. You press OK and it still submit. And it's a crucial thing when you intercept. You learn there's a thing called prevent default, and this can happen to any event. imagine, actually yesterday or 2 days ago when you did that form, when you hit the cancel thing, and the event clicked the parent form. Did that happen to your pair? It happened to a lot of people. Like, you click the cancel button, you listen to the canceling, and then that click also hit the form underneath. Then you show the form again. So you guys did not have that problem, but Louis know what I'm talking about. Another way is to prevent that from happening. You can detect the click on the first element and you prevent it from going to the next event. That's called stop propagation. But when you need to do that, please let me know and I can show you how. In this case, I just prevent the form. Let's try. Whoops. Yeah, it submit to this form. If you click this, it will submit okay, right? You can submit with this or this. Know that this are both the same. And then if I click again, submit from anywhere, name input is blank, press OK, nothing changes. And that's the power, because that's how you can submit multiple forms on a page and you don't have to reload, etc. Right? That is crucial for our jQuery. I thought I had the note somewhere. Here. jQuery, for example, you submit anything. Here is request data from server after the post has the page has loaded. What if you request data from the server by hitting that submit button, right? We haven't learned how to receive data from the server yet. That's the next one. But updating your page without reloading the page, by clicking a button. So the submit thing can be cool. Now it's crucial for your homework, because if I move from 1 to B, let's see what happened in the console here. If I move this guy from here to here, I have to save 2 forms. You see what happened, yeah? And you see a ton of stuff here. So I'm gonna, the page doesn't reload, but basically these are the requests. I submit the post to this page, and I also submit the post to this page, except each one of them I submit it from a different form. This is the first form. That's the first form. This is the second form. That's the second form, right? And of course, here are the things that you can be like super curious. You're like, okay, what's the final code like? You can read and see what it is, but I encourage you that it's okay. You don't have to. You say, okay, where's the code? Did he do anything? No, he didn't do that here. There's no need, but I'm going to just quickly mention it. Maybe in sortable. So yes, so if you click on you move from one to another, there's this event, sort of date. So when you release from A to B, you release this. I'm calling form. I'm trying to find the form, and then I call submit. Okay? Except I do more things. So you don't have to do this. My way is basically, I say add this class JS remote, and only the JS remote forms have this behavior. This JS remote form, if you submit those forms, they will submit in the background. It means now I submit 1 form, 2 form, 3 form, 4 forms, they all do it in the background and my page doesn't reload. I show you this to explain the idea. So when you do it, don't have really, you can ignore all of this if you want, just one step at a time. What have I achieved? Right? I achieved the fact that I can stop this form from submitting. It means now if I have a save all button over here and I have multiple lists, let's say I have more than 1 form now. Let's say I have this list box. Okay, this one, and I have a save all button somewhere. Submit from, let's say I'll take this button now and put it down here, and I call it save all. And then, what if I can submit all form? Obviously, you don't have this feature, but it's just a demo, right? So what if I can click save all? Then your save all method will call that, right? Save all will call this submit all, var submit all equals, it's a function. Technically, it doesn't take any argument, and it will take the form, and this will select everything, all forms. How many of them are there? 2 of them now, and click submit. So I'm gonna print. This is save all. It could be a button. Maybe it looks like nicer as a button. It's up to you. Let me try this. All right. Submit all, and when I submit, I should probably it doesn't say submitting the form. Let's print the target, right? Or I can just print this. That's quite nice. You can start playing with the keyword this, and let's reload that page. Debug. Let's make the CSS look nicer. You don't hate me for it. This box here, it will be float left, margin right, 10 pixel. All right. So let's run this. Oops, not that guy. Is it here? Not this guy. Okay, debug view again. All right. Save all. Click here. It's not working. Welcome to JavaScript. Sucks. Then you're like, I can't see any error. Nothing works. Then we really have to be careful and test. What did I do that is wrong? Save all. You have to really check everything. Click on this guy. Okay, on click submit all. Can I actually call submit all? Submit all. Oh, it's a function. If I call submit all, wait.
Isn't form new line?
Right? Okay. Thank you very much. Just one typo. So you know at least earlier you can like, is it calling submit all? Then you can say calling submit all in here, okay? To make it very damn sure that you call it. So in this case, my selector was bad. Submit all. Okay, input is still blank, and it prevents both form. But you know that it's calling submitting the form twice, and it's printing this. Unfortunately, my explanation of this is going to be like, holy shit, this function is bad. This one, it will. Yeah, this keyword is scary because I use this actually doesn't work anymore. If this only works if I do this. Okay. You see, if not, the arrow function does not give assign that function to the object that you call, like this guy, but it just this now is the whole window, like this one. It's bad. When you enter, it's good and bad to different purposes. But for this purpose, if you want to use the word this, stick with the old school way like this. So let's try. Or maybe just never use the word this. You can Google JavaScript this, and you'll see what most people just have a nightmare about. So hey, okay, it works all right. And look at the element. That's the form. It's highlighting the 2 forms. Okay. So I'm going to change this to event the target just to be very sure I know what it is, right? And it's the same way. Okay? Let's see. Yeah. So that covers the second point. But the third point is Ajax. Why Ajax? Ajax, like yesterday, we used Ajax to get data from the server or do things in the background. This is where you want to submit. Do extra here. Basically, I submit my form all the time. So I will actually say I always prevent default. But now I'm going to submit by myself. Submit manually. How do you submit a form manually? You can so call, this.submit. When you're done, you can call it, but that's not what you want. Because submit here will make an HTTP request. So there's a call submit this.ajax. Okay? And then you can now send it. Now you have to Google jQuery Ajax. there's an Ajax method. And in the Ajax method, it gives you the, it has a lot of extra arguments. So this can be really difficult to read. The first argument is a URL. And then other than that, you can pass in the setting. You can push, Ajax, but then it also accepts no URL. So it can be super confusing, like that. Okay, good. So it's a whole hash. Let's do it this way. So if you use Ajax, just follow the format that it's doing. The simplest one is just always give it a URL. To be honest, I think if you pass it a URL here, it will work. But let's do the URL. Okay, Ajax. Let's submit somewhere. Where do you want to submit? Huh? Let's submit to our server. I'm gonna run our server right now. Okay, we submit from CodePen to our server. Run this. Uh-oh. I think I was demoing some bad. Oh. Yeah, I was trying to load from an invalid file. Maybe this will work. God, I'm gonna check out the whole, reset the page. Sorry, go away. Alright, my code is a bit ugly. Let's reset the whole thing. Let's run shotgun app here. Alright, I'm gonna submit here, and it's gonna go to /submit. I'm gonna submit this URL. So then I pass this URL in here. Are we okay with that? Now it's an invalid, unlike Ruby. Ruby actually, you don't need, if you put in a hash, you don't need the curly braces. In JavaScript you do. Alright, so if you really want to make it easy to see, you do that. No syntax error. Go here, start submitting. Make sure you save. And save all. Alright. It's not this, what am I doing with that? Just jQuery.ajax, which is the same as this. Same as its $sign. Alright. Okay. So we get, as we deal with JavaScript, we also run into this problem all the time. Is that it can be really tricky. There's a security protection. Like we're looking at an HTTPS page, you cannot submit it to a regular HTTP page. Did not see that coming in my demo. Uh-oh. So I wonder if I can change this to HTTP. Now it redirects. So I have to submit to an HTTPS.
Shotgun says HTTPS in the terminal.
Where?
In terminal in Discord.
You cannot do HTTPS localhost.
But here it's
Where? It's not easy. You could, not easy. So this request has been blocked. So I don't know this. So normally you could. I hate that, huh? You could Google this one and see some workaround. So for example, you can run Chrome, turn off the security extension, etc. etc. Unfortunately, I won't be able to show you this Ajax thing then. Submitting from CodePen, so I have to figure out a different way to experiment that. I'm going to copy this code. Here's how I'm going to do it. Copy it over to our CodePen page. Almost there, guys. 5 more minutes. Hopefully, I can show this concept. This is going to see ajax.html.codepen. Yeah, HTML and then I go to app. I have to define that page. So get CodePen, do erb codepen.html. Are we good there? And we run this time. I paste that whole thing. So to do app/CodePen. Okay, now we can submit to ourselves. Phew. Okay, excuse me for the bad CSS. Not really a problem. I could actually just for now, I just dump everything in a style thing here. Sometimes it's okay to be ugly, but I don't want you guys to be ugly like this, please. You can be all ugly, like, but do not do all this spacing monster. Ugly like having this thing so they can copy and paste to a different file. It's a different ugliness. So run this now over here. Oh, so great. Then the main thing is JavaScript. I copy this and I put it in at the bottom, right? This is my JavaScript, and now for this whole page, I can reproduce the situation. It's kind of nice, right? All right. Why is it saying submit all is not a function?
We're not loaded.
Yeah, because now var make it a local variable and you cannot use it outside. You could do this, and this is a global variable. It's not nice, okay? But that is, and then you need jQuery for this app. I don't have jQuery. Oh, I do. But this is okay. Now that's tricky. My jQuery is loaded out inside my layout. My jQuery is now running this yield. So you run into this problem. So how do we fix it?
On AppleRB, just use layout for that.
Remove that script tag.
Or just before the yield.
Remove. Yeah, but then we run into other problems.
I mean, like, maybe that.
Okay, so this is a good time for us to think about this problem. I'm using JavaScript. This is not really a problem. Where are we having the problem though? I'm calling it here. Okay, I remove anything that requires running jQuery, like this guy. Okay. Notice I'm not doing anything. So I remove this guy. I'm just gonna run again, and you see there's no error. Why? Even though you see jQuery all of the places. These are the functions that I define. I haven't run them yet. I haven't invoked them yet. So the way to bind this like this, you can now what I just deleted. This line I'm going to run after my jQuery. Yeah? Yeah?
Just move the layout jQuery script to just write about this script.
No. Keep this here at the bottom. Because you want to maintain that principle. All the DOM is rendered and then you load your JavaScript. The way to do it right now, so please ask if you're not sure this one. I want to run this line. One way is that I copy this line right here. And I copy it, I load my page, and I run it. It's just a little lame, right? That's lame. I want to run it automatically. By the way, why are we having a syntax error now? Form new over submit form. I just accidentally delete something.
But I thought we aren't even passing layout to this page. So how does it know that we have jQuery?
Oh, thank you very much. That's another thing. Oh, so it's easy. So we could just include jQuery ourselves, right?
Exactly.
For this purpose of this learning, yes, we do that. But when you put in the app, you're sharing the same jQuery. So I'll show you how to share. But let's make sure this page is correct though. Did I do anything wrong recently? Reload. Oh, wait, what? Okay, it works. I don't know. It just didn't save properly. Okay, so you could do this. What is it doing? Take the form new item and then submit it. And then it would say there's no jQuery on page. This is what Oscar just pointed out. How do I fix that? No problem. Layout. One more time. If you do this, it only displays this because that's the layout text. You want layout to take a symbol, and then it take a symbol of a file name. So load this now. That's the file we have. And if you do this, it attach the do extra thing to the form. Now you can click this. Okay? Then it will submit. Awesome. Right? Before I get to this submit, I want to say that you have app.js loaded anyway. You can put this at the bottom of your app.js. Again, I do spacing just to show you guys, but only one space, please. No, not too many new lines. So that's interesting. every single page will run this. Is it a problem? No, not really. You just add and submit to it, but you don't have this new item on the about us page, and not really a big deal. You run this, your home page, everything still works. You know, that's okay. Nothing will be a problem, and your Trello page will work. This CodePen page will work as expected. Okay. However, actually, not expected, not yet. However, normally you don't want to do this. You want to be very clear that I only want to do this on pages that contain the form. So it's very easy to check that if, so you can say form is this guy, okay. If form, that length is greater than 0, but JavaScript is messed up. It's just like 0 is also, false. So if then you see some people do if length like this to see if an element is correct or not, and that exists or not. If it returns 0, it will become false anyway. So, but you can make sure it's super clear. It's like that, yeah. So tuple is fine there. Then you say only on these pages you add this extra event. Is that okay? And then you may feel like, oh, this is nice. I just create an event.js file and I move all this event ugliness into this file. It can be different pages. I don't care, but it's easy for me to find them. And then I have to go to the layout file, and then I have to add one more thing. This is called loading the events.js file. Maybe load it after app.js. Yeah? Yeah. So we're done. Unfortunately, sorry, I need another 5 minutes to explain that damn Ajax call. Normally, this is the order you put your JavaScript. External libraries first, and then your JavaScript. Please don't put, in the really random order, and then you again in a world of hurt, because something may override something else. Same thing with CSS. Later you have Bootstrap. Always outside stuff first, your stuff afterwards, because they load it in order. Okay, so I have these events, and I can submit. Something's going on, huh? I haven't run the. I need to really make sure this binds. This guy. So you can. This is important. How you debug this, right? Binding extra, do extra to form. So I'm just gonna see if I load this. If I load the page CodePen right now, it's not working. I need to really see why that's happening. Is there app.js? Yes, it is. Is it running JS events? Yes. Is it looking this guy? It's not running in here for some reason. Form new item is not working. So let's check on this page. Huh. Why? Actually, that's a bit weird. So let me see if this works. I will explain this. Huh?
Like this.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I wanted to add this to explain you, but you don't need this for our setup. Yo, so that works. Ah, beautiful. But let's see what these red lines are, right? Let's look at them. It's submitting. Right now it's submitting to get submit. Does anyone know why it's submitting to get submit?
That's the URL we said.
It's no longer the method thing in the. Let's move. You see, once you have this already, you can move all your JavaScript code into that file. These are just definition. It's not a problem. They never run. They don't slow down your code. They don't get run at all. All right. So let's see what's going on here. CodePen. No need to script anymore. Good. Now let's look at this do extra because of this get. Okay, so if you want to send a post, then you have to say method post. You have to be clear there. That's the default. So let's try it. Post and post. Okay, then you see post here. That's good. But remember our app.rb, we can make it more useful by calling debug params. So let's do that, right? And of course, in this case, if you submit debug params, your params empty, do you really send anything? So we're learning from Ajax one thing at a time. This is the call. This is your Ajax call. You can pass in data. Okay. So let's say name is hello, and see if that can submit that. Uh-oh, I think the way I pass data is wrong. Let's look at how it passes data. Data colon. That looks good, no? Did I do anything wrong? Okay, load it properly. Oh, this is a danger. You do like Command Shift R. Let's try again. Alright, I'm not passing the data properly. I have to, when you are submitting, it's doing post just fine. I am following the documentation here. Ajax post URL data is that, and I have to make sure that my JavaScript on this page is exactly that, because otherwise I'm in trouble. That's not good. So let's do data. Var data is here is name hello, and then you pass in data. I just want to make sure that I'm calling Ajax with this data, right? I'm printing everything very clearly in this file. Data is data. Is that all right? And then press.
One question.
Yeah.
The way you're doing this now, with like being very specific with console.log, debugging every step at a time, are you doing this mostly for our benefit, or is this how you would actually, when you're writing code, you would actually like really be this?
If I learn something new, I will do it as clear as I can, because I can see my progress every time. Adding on console statement is progress. Thinking about it and not adding it is not progress, so I just do it. But as you become comfortable, you skip a lot of things. The problem, sometimes we don't know how smart we are at that hour. Sometimes I just assume that I'm pretty stupid, then I just I do write this, exactly this right now. When on days that I feel like I just want to make sure everything, little step, makes sense. But on days I feel really clever, I just write the whole thing without testing it, and it may work. But our brain is not consistent. So I do owe you guys, because it's lunchtime already. There's a reason why this doesn't work. It's a bit of a problem. There's a shorter syntax. Instead of method post here, you could learn get instead of specify that, and then specify the URL here. And this is very commonly done. And then, for example, you can go to google.com and you can get that, or you can get you can do post, and it's the same thing here. You would go to a website. You do need HTTP and stuff, and then you pass the data like that too, the extra data. But I forgot if it's really this like this, or is it data. I'll have to look it up each time I do it. The get thing is really powerful. If we can find one JSON endpoint, I can just show it right now. Huh? Oh, integer JSON, yeah. I just need a public URL. Someone can get Facebook. Facebook graph.facebook.com / maybe username. Oh, great. You see this? This is like JSON, right? This is a raw. I use a plugin, so it sends this. So imagine if I go to if I'm in JavaScript, I can do again I can do Ajax, but with URL thing, or I can do get like this. Let's see what not that. Ah, sorry. Get not this again. Get graph facebook.com. Then you get the whole object back, and then so basically it has response JSON, I think. Unfortunately, because it's an error, so the parsing of this object is not as convenient. But you should see the text here, response text and response JSON. It parses the object to you, and you have the whole thing that you can use. This is how all the mobile app works. Basically, it sends all this very similar Ajax call. You call a get, and then you get the data, and then you use your JavaScript to print on the page itself. Right, so how to access website with JavaScript. And it's time to get a lunch break, but we'll touch on this more later.